In today's true crime story, we will be delving into the chilling events of Mother's Day 2020, when a sunny afternoon at Queen's Park in Bolton turned into a nightmare. 7-year-old Emily Jones, full of innocence and joy, became the victim of a horrific crime. Eltiona Skana, a stranger battling a fractured mind, mistook Emily's carefree spirit for a threat, leading to a senseless act of violence. Stay with us as we uncover the shocking details of this tragic story. Stay with us as we unravel the shocking details behind this chilling and senseless murder. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notification. You won't want to miss a single twist in this haunting story and many more true crime stories only on Crime Uncovered. March 22, 2020. Queen's Park in Bolton, Greater Manchester, England. A sunny, calm Sunday afternoon. The kind that should have been filled with laughter, the joyful squeals of children running around, and the excitement of families gathering together. It was Mother's Day, a special occasion to celebrate mothers, and the park was alive with life. Among those enjoying the day were Mark Jones and his daughter, Emily Grace Jones, a 7-year-old with a heart full of joy and a smile that could light up the world. Emily was a typical young girl, energetic, vibrant, and full of life. She loved to draw, her pictures filled with vibrant colors and fantastical creatures. Riding her scooter was one of her greatest joys, the wind in her hair a symbol of her carefree spirit. She loved riding her scooter, her laughter ringing out across the park as she glided around, weaving between other families and children. She was her parents' only child, the center of their world. Emily's mother, Sarah, was on her way to join them at the park, and Emily could barely contain her excitement at seeing her mum. However, not far from Emily and Mark, a different presence loomed. Eltiona Skana, a 30-year-old woman with a troubled past, sat on a weathered park bench. On the surface, she appeared to be another person enjoying the afternoon, but her mind was far from the peaceful calm of the park. Eltiona had been battling paranoid schizophrenia for years, a condition that distorted her perception of reality, twisting the world into something unrecognizable and dangerous. Born in Albania, Eltiona had moved to the UK seeking a fresh start, but instead her mental illness took hold, gradually unraveling her life. She had been hospitalized multiple times due to her severe psychosis, and her delusions only worsened with time. The voices in her head became more frequent, more demanding, and more accusatory. She could no longer distinguish between reality and the hallucinations that constantly tormented her. Despite her attempts at treatment, the medication often failed to control the voices, and the psychiatric wards offered only temporary respite. The hospital stays didn't last, and once released, Eltiona was left to face the world outside, alone with her ever-increasing paranoia. On that day in Queen's Park, her mind was a battlefield. The voices were louder than ever, the delusions more vivid, and the world around her seemed hostile. As Emily scooted around the park, her joy-filled laughter and innocence became a trigger for Eltiona's distorted reality. Eltiona had no connection to Emily or her family. There was no reason for Eltiona to focus on the young girl who was simply enjoying a fun day at the park. But in the delusional world Eltiona inhabited, Emily's innocent joy became something threatening. In Eltiona's mind, the child's exuberant calls of "Mummy" were distorted into something far more sinister. Sarah had arrived at the park entrance, unaware of the tragedy that was about to unfold. Emily, spotting her mum, abandoned her scooter and ran toward her with open arms, her eyes lighting up as she called out, "Mummy! Mummy!" Sarah, engrossed in a message on her phone and with earphones subtly in place, didn't immediately hear her daughter's calls. The sounds of the park created a gentle barrier, masking Emily's approaching footsteps and cheerful cries. Emily was a child, full of love, full of life, unaware that the joyous reunion with her mother would soon be shattered in the most horrific way. Eltiona, sitting on the bench, watched as Emily approached her mother. In her mind, this innocent interaction became a sign of impending danger. The voices had distorted the scene, turning it into a chaotic and terrifying image. The world was out to get her. And now, this innocent child, full of life, was part of a plot that Eltiona could no longer comprehend. In a split second, the park was forever changed. As Emily ran towards her mother, Eltiona Skana snapped. She stood up suddenly, her movements jerky and uncoordinated. Witnesses later described the scene as surreal. In one swift motion, Eltiona grabbed a craft knife, something that, in her hands, became a weapon of unimaginable violence. Without warning, she rushed forward and, before anyone could comprehend what was happening, plunged the blade into Emily's neck. It was a quick and brutal attack, A moment that would forever scar the park, the families, and the community. The sounds of joy and laughter were replaced by screams, terrified, frantic, and filled with disbelief. Onlookers froze in shock as Emily collapsed, her small body crumpling to the ground, blood pouring from the wound in her neck. Mark, who had been watching his daughter ride her scooter just moments before, initially thought that Emily had tripped and fallen and that Eltiona was only trying to help her up. But as the panic spread, the blood, the screams of terror, shattered that naive assumption. His daughter was lying there, bleeding out in front of him, and there was nothing he could do. Eltiona Skana, meanwhile, attempted to flee the scene, her movements erratic and disjointed. But a brave member of the public intervened, tackling her and holding her until the police arrived. The contrast was stark. The raw, visceral grief of a father holding his dying child against the detached, almost bewildered demeanor of the woman who had inflicted such unimaginable pain. Why would Eltiona attack a young, innocent girl she didn't know? The answer lies in the deep recesses of her troubled mind. The voices in her head had painted a world where she was under constant threat, where everyone around her was out to harm her. In that moment, Emily's innocent behavior was twisted into a dangerous signal, a perceived threat that Eltiona felt compelled to neutralize. This wasn't a planned attack. There was no hatred or premeditated motive. It was a result of Eltiona's fractured mind, a delusion born from her paranoid schizophrenia that saw no distinction between reality and the chaos she was experiencing inside her head. In Eltiona's eyes, Emily was a part of the threatening world that she had come to believe existed. The horror didn't end when Eltiona was tackled to the ground by a member of the public. The park, once a place of innocence, became a crime scene. Mark cradled his daughter's dying body, the weight of grief and disbelief crashing down on him. The moments of life they'd shared that day, so full of promise, were now irrevocably tainted by tragedy. Emily was rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. The damage was too severe. The little girl who had brought so much light into the world was gone. Eltiona was arrested and taken into custody. Her blank expression and disjointed behavior suggested that she had no understanding of the horror she had just committed. It wasn't until later that authorities pieced together her background, revealing a woman tortured by her mental illness, a woman who had slipped through the cracks of the healthcare system, unable to receive the help she so desperately needed. As the investigation unfolded, the tragic reality of the situation became clear. The lack of proper care and the untreated nature of Eltiona's illness had led to a senseless act of violence. There was no malicious intent, only a mind lost to its delusions. It was also found out that Eltiona, since leaving the hospital, hasn't been taking her medication for over a month. The case entered the courtroom and the stark reality of the crime was laid bare. Eltiona pleaded guilty to manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility, a legal defense that recognizes the impact of mental illness on one's actions. In her defense, the court acknowledged her psychosis, but the emotional toll on Emily's family was palpable. The Jones family, devastated by the loss of their daughter, spoke in court about the bright life that had been stolen from them. Eltiona Skana was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term, though the judge took into account her mental health. It was a bittersweet conclusion, a reminder that no matter the circumstances, the pain of losing a child can never be undone. The death of Emily Jones left a deep scar on the Bolton community. Queen's Park, once a place of happiness, became forever associated with tragedy. Emily's family, her mother, Sarah, and father, Mark, would never be the same. They were left with the haunting memory of their daughter's last moments, a loss that no legal sentence could ever heal. Queen's Park, once a place of carefree joy, now carries the weight of this horrific memory. The laughter of children may still echo through its trees, but for those who witnessed the events of that Mother's Day, a shadow will forever linger. The shadow of a vibrant young life extinguished in a moment of unimaginable madness. The final image remains etched in memory, a father's inconsolable grief, a mother's silent scream, and the chilling realization that sometimes, tragedy strikes with a terrifying and inexplicable randomness. If you find Eltiona and Emily's story gripping and love to see more true crime stories, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you never miss out on our subsequent posts. Stay tuned for more chilling true crime cases only on Crime Uncovered.